Welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast, where today's brightest minds in the medical device industry go to get their most useful and actionable insider knowledge direct from some of the world's leading medical device experts and companies.
On this episode of the Global Medical Device Podcast, I do another Meet the Gurus session, this time with medical device guru Etienne Nichols. Etienne has a lot of experiences prior to joining Greenlight, some in other industries, but it's to me that's always part of the journey, is just learning things along the way that could be applicable to current situation and circumstances. And it was through this conversation, and I talk to all of our gurus periodically, and I've been just blessed and appreciate so much how that team has grown. And, I'm really proud of our medical device gurus at Greenlight Guru today. We have, I think, over a dozen as this is being recorded. And just to see, and hear some of their successes, but how excited they are about helping our customers, medical device companies like you, through their journey, and how much pride and excitement they have from that. I mean, that's just amazing. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Global Medical Device Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast. This is your host and founder at Greenlight Guru, Jon Speer. And from time to time, we feature one of our gurus, as you probably have become familiar. Joining me today is one of our newer gurus at Greenlight Guru, Etienne Nichols. Etienne, welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast.
Thank you, John. It's good to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today.
Absolutely. I guess maybe a good place to start our discussion is tell the folks a little bit about who you are and sort of, I guess, high-level overview of your journey in the medical device industry so far.
Okay. Well, I started, I was a mechanical engineer in college, and I wanted to be a biomedical, but I was down that road a little bit already. But what sent me down the interest in being biomedical was I broke my arm in college, and the surgeon was really into physics. He talked to me all about the different physics of the implant that was going into my arm and the screws, and he showed me all of the difference. He said, "Oh, you're an engineer. You're going to be interested in these things." And it did really spark my interest. So after I got out of college, I worked as a mechanical engineer for a couple different industries, aerospace, the steel industry. Finally got the chance to be a medical device engineer working at a manufacturing facility. So I learned a lot about different things, the QMS, product development. I got thrown into a regulatory project, which was really exciting. And then that really sprung me into project management, where I started working primarily with product development, even going into a combination device, drug and drug delivery device. And that's the point that I found Greenlight Guru. So I feel as though I've dabbled in a lot of different areas. And so that's kind of how I came here.
Okay. And you mentioned before, or earlier while you were at school, you were thinking about considering biomedical engineering before you broke your arm. What was the drive or the intrigue there?
Well, so the two different reasons. I had been obviously pursuing mechanical engineering. I had considered going on to be a doctor after that. That was kind of I was toying with that thought in my mind. But then I thought, wow, I could really help some people. There's a whole side of the medical industry that I don't ever think about, and that's the design of these devices. And here I am already in college to be a designer of things. Why not just design medical devices? And so that's really what kind of sparked my interest more than anything.
Very cool. So you've been at Greenlight now for a few months. I mean, how would you describe, or what do you enjoy most about being a guru at Greenlight Guru so far?
I think the best thing for me is getting to see the technology that's being developed out there and how many people are working so hard to bring products to market. I had the chance recently to be a judge at the MedTech Innovator, which was an awesome experience for me. My takeaway from the event, I've talked to a couple different people about that, but the thing that most everybody's going to hear me say is I feel like the future is bright when I see all of these people working so hard. We hear on the news all the tough situations that the world's facing, but we don't talk as much about the lesser well-known, not as well-known entrepreneurs that are working tirelessly to improve people's lives. So that's exciting to me. It really pumps me up seeing all of the technology that's being brought to market.
For sure. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, I've got a few years on you, but when I entered in the med device industry, I mean, trying to think. I mean, I had a cell phone, but it was basically just a phone.
The big brick kind.
Wasn't quite that big, but it was just a phone. It didn't have anything else really on it. I think it might have had. I remember my BlackBerry. That dates me a little bit. I love that phone with people, but now the phones that we have and the things that we wear. All these tech devices that we use in our everyday lives, they have in some cases, medical purposes, and it's kind of cool, to think about, the emergence or convergence of technology and med device and all for that purpose of improving my quality of life and the quality of life of the people that I love. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah. And I guess I'll add, just when you asked the question about what I enjoy about being a guru, that's certainly probably first and foremost. It's just so exciting to see that technology, like you're saying. But in addition to that, you brought that up about the software as a medical device. That was something that I wasn't previously as involved in. The people I'm working with now, for example, Wade, he's dove right into that to learn software as a medical device, taking courses on that. And he's going to be a cutting edge guy for software as a medical device. And just all of the people I'm working with, they all have their specialties, and they're all really diving into a lot of different subjects that maybe people who were niche engineers might not have ever even considered before. So I feel like my breadth of knowledge is expanding just by being around these different people. So that's another really exciting thing to be experiencing right now.
Yeah. When you refer to Wade, you're referring to one of our medical device gurus, Wade Schroeder.
Yes.
So, I think it is, to me, it's kind of exciting to see not just the technology, but like you and the other gurus, and you have such a great opportunity, I think, to let your current skills and expertise shine and be an asset and a resource to our customers. But to your point, Wade is a good example. He's curious about some aspect of the industry, and he's diving in and he's taking some courses and getting some expertise in an area that he didn't have. So that's kind of cool. And I think it exemplifies a bit the entire medical device guru group of folks at Greenlight Guru. Is that if you look at all of the skills and the expertise, we've done. When it comes to med device, the group of gurus has done everything you can do. I think that would be, of course, I've got a strong bias here, but I think as a customer of Greenlight Guru, that's got to feel good, because I know I've got a team behind me that's already been through the things that I'm going to go through, and that they're there a phone call away. So that's kind of cool.
Right. It makes me think, when I was leading a project to get direct part marking placed on Class 2 devices, for the UDI implementation several years ago. It was a stressful time. It was a very stressful time for me because, when you're a project manager, you may fall into the trap of thinking, man, if this project doesn't succeed, heads will roll, and then things are going to, and it's possible that people could lose their jobs. It's definitely an impact. But had I back then had Greenlight Guru backing me, I would have had so much more confidence. And while I feel like, we did a great job, me and my team, just being part of this machine that backs all these small companies or large companies, any size companies. I feel great being able to do that. I think it's exciting. Yeah,
that's cool. So I know it's early days in your time at Greenlight, but any favorite customer stories that you can share so far? And don't feel like you have to share who the customer is. Maybe just, anything come to mind?
Yeah, there's a couple different, you're right. Having not been here too long, One of my favorite customers, though, that I got to have a conversation with, he pulled up his design. Early conversations. He wanted to get to know me a little bit. I'd like to get to know him. So we were just having a conversation. He pulled up the design of their product, and he was so open about the way it was designed. We talked about some of the different aspects as to whether you want to cantilever something or not, and what are the risks imposed, and that was really fun because sometimes when you're in an advisory role, you may feel like you're losing touch of the design itself, but those conversations are really exciting. So he and I had a good time exploring that. Yeah, I don't have any specific because obviously still a little early, but I am excited to start to get to know the customers because that's one of my favorite things about this job as well.
Yeah, well, it sounds like in that example that you shared, you get to be an engineer.
Yeah.
And I'll share a story. Jessica Lyons, so she's been one of our medical device gurus. She just actually celebrated 5 years with Greenlight, which is hard for me to believe. But anyway, when she came in for the interview, we didn't have any gurus aside from me at the time.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't have a customer success team at the time. But she came in for the interview and she wanted to kind of see a day in the life and kind of shadow me. And at the time I was, working with pretty much all of our customers. Again, it's early days, but we had a call with one of our customers, and he started asking questions about sample size for testing purposes and all these sorts of things. And I knew that Jessica had some expertise in that. So I just gave her the phone and, during the interview and,
oh, wow.
Because her concern was she really liked being an engineer.
Absolutely.
And she was worried that if she came to Greenlight, she wouldn't have that opportunity to be the engineer. And I think, I think maybe a little bit of a bias, but I think the opposite is true in some cases. I know my career path, I felt like I was spending way too much time updating things like Excel spreadsheets and Word documents more so than doing engineering or project management. And that was sort of the motivation that drove me to conceptualize and I guess come up with the idea of Greenlight, was so that I can actually spend time doing what I enjoyed. And at that time I was managing projects. But I think our gurus get more of an opportunity to be nerds maybe than they did otherwise,
Well, I am curious. Yeah, I actually think you're absolutely right about that. I am curious. When you conceptualized Greenlight Guru, how close are we from where we were from what was in your mind? Or I'm sure it's evolved like crazy.
Well, it has evolved like crazy. And the first. The idea that I had, so at the time I was doing a lot of consulting with primarily startup, but some small companies, but really trying to help them get products to market. So everything about managing everything about the product development process, working with suppliers and design firms and contract manufacturers, things of that nature, but preparing tech files or 510Ks, whatever the case may be. But there was this common theme, and it was design controls. And more times than not, the people that I was working with on these projects, they didn't really understand or conceptualize the importance of design controls. I managed and maintained a spreadsheet, the traceability matrix essentially in a spreadsheet. This is a practice that I had implemented long ago in my career at this point. And I knew that, especially in certain phases of a project, it's very dynamic. Things are very fluid and changing. And so sometimes you're updating that spreadsheet a few times throughout the day. It's not uncommon for me to spend several hours per week just updating that spreadsheet. But it was so important to communicate where we are, what's going on, that it was worth it.
Yeah.
And that essentially was the first version of Greenlight, was an improved workflow for managing design controls while keeping that traceability matrix front and center. I would say all the other workflows that are in the platform, those have evolved and pivots based on things that we learned after. But that design control traceability matrix was the first idea from a product perspective. And I would say where the product is today actually is pretty close to that vision, ultimate vision that I had with that. I mean, we constantly are evolving that workflow and the platform. I know we've got a couple other things on the horizon with that too, but I think it's pretty close today to that vision. So,
well, and I don't mean to go too far off track, but just what you're talking about makes me think of how I found Greenlight Guru. I mentioned wishing that I'd had their content production and all of the team backing me in the past. I actually when I found you guys, I was just doing some research and I found Jessica Lyon's article. She had an article on, I think it was DHF, DMR, DHRs. I was just trying to get something to show other people. The external knowledge always seems to sway people more than your own sometimes. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I was so interested in just the article and the content. I reached out to Jessica Lyon just to say, hey, really enjoyed your article. And that's when I just followed her on LinkedIn and started learning more about Greenlight Guru. And it just was kind of cool to see that I was curious about the product and started looking at the software. And so what I was doing at the time was doing what you said. I was managing an Excel spreadsheet that had the design controls. We called it a trace matrix as well. But what Greenlight Guru has really, it puts the traceability in the traceability matrix, I think, because now you can trace to everything. It can be, I'm a huge fan of the design controls workspace for sure. It's awesome.
Well, folks, I want to remind you, I'm talking to Etienne Nichols. Etienne is one of our gurus at Greenlight Guru, and he was just describing some about the Greenlight Guru medical device success platform. If you'd like to learn more about the design control workflow or, frankly, any of the other workflows for helping you manage risk in documents and records and change and quality events such as CAPAs and complaints, well, I would encourage you to go to www.greenlight.guru to learn more. We'd be thrilled to have a conversation with you to understand your needs and your requirements and see if you might have products and solutions that can help you. But yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I think that was one of the traceability matrix that I was doing or keeping up to date is I tried to make it dynamic, but it was essentially a static spreadsheet. And we still had separate documents and records for a lot of the other things. And, when you're in a prototype or, mode or, heavy prototype where you're doing some preliminary testing and things like that, things are pretty fluid. They change quite often. And that was one of the frustrating things for me about the spreadsheet, the traceability matrix, is if I change something in one area, like let's just say a design input, I probably had to go at least one, probably two or three other places to change it to. And that was the non-value add activity. And so the funny thing is I guess a couple seeds got planted in my brain back in early years. So the first company I worked for out of school, I was a product development engineer, and then got involved more in, I guess, engineering systems and processes. But I had somebody, and it was an old school company. And granted, I also, when I joined them, the FDA regulations were pretty new, so everybody was trying to figure them out. But there was a comment that I got from a boss once that said, hey, why don't you figure out a way for all of this design control information to fit on one page? And that kind of stuck with me. And, even at that time, I mean, projects that I would manage, we did paper. I had a file cabinet next to me that had all my projects in it. And, even the simplest of projects had probably 2 or 3 3-inch binders full of stuff, just paperwork. That thought just stuck in my head like one sheet of paper. Now, I'm an engineer, and engineers can be contrarian at times if they need to be. And sometimes even when we don't. But I'm thinking, I can get a D-size plotter and make it one sheet of paper. It just will be the size of a room, right? But anyway, that whole idea kind of stuck with me. And before Greenlight was called Greenlight, I was working on it. I called it Unidoc, UNIDOC, one document. And that was the concept is, hey, how can we put all the design control information in one place so that if I update it in one place, it changes everywhere, or goes everywhere it needs to, and gets updated everywhere too. So.
Well, I'm sure even early on, the people you were consulting with had to. Well, I don't know, how did they appreciate it? Were they at the point where they knew the difference, or was that normal?
I think it's even. I think there's a similar reaction today. I mean, those who have been through it, they know the moment they see the screen and Greenlight, they know exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Without clicking into or adding anything, they just know what it does, right? I think it does bridge the gap and shorten the learning curve a bit for those who are maybe newer to med device. And it's funny. There's a couple of customers that come to mind that their journey. I'm sure has been hard, and I guess level of difficulty is always a matter of perspective. But I know it has been difficult and challenging. But looking, through my lens, through their journey, is like what they've been able to accomplish in such a reduced time frame is phenomenal. And I know Greenlight's played a part of that, but they don't have the other experience to know. So that's always kind of interesting. Is like, if you don't have the context, it's really hard to relate.
Yeah. It's true. And like I said, I was talking to another guru who also managed trace matrix and at different points in time. And you have so much appreciation, or I personally do anyway. When I look at this, I just think, oh man, I've visited with some other engineers who are at different companies now since starting at Greenlight Guru. And I feel like I want to be a walking billboard, because I think Greenlight Guru, I think we're absolutely changing the market in that we're getting products to market faster, but we're also improving quality of lives for the people who are working in this every day. It's enjoyable to work in Greenlight Guru versus the Excel spreadsheets of yesteryear. So,
well, and I think that's your quality of life component. I mean, it's has multiple meanings within the company. I used to say like a double entendre, and then I learned that's actually probably the bad thing, because that means there's something risque about it. There's nothing risque about it, so it has multiple meanings. I mean, it's improving the quality of life because it's helping our customers get products to market for the patients, of course, but it's also helping their quality of life. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that for me, is it kind of started to get to a tipping point when I was in consulting. It's like, I am more qualified and have more to bring and offer and expertise than it takes to update a spreadsheet. It's like, but I'm spending too much time, not just updating spreadsheets, but just the morass that you go through and of keeping all of these things up to date. Because I value the importance of documentation, because I'd been on both sides of that equation. Good documentation, not so good documentation. And, having gone through those experiences, they definitely formed my beliefs. I knew which one was the preferred option. So I was going to spend the time on the documentation. Yeah. But I was spending an inexorbitant amount of time on the documentation that was taking away from, other skills that I could bring to the team. And I think that describes a lot of medical device professionals, not just product developers and project managers, but a lot of folks are having that experience. I've heard a lot of people be disenfranchised. And I think the unfortunate thing is that is an outcome of poor attention to detail with respect to our systems that we've put in place. I think we've made things more complicated at times than it needs to be, and other times not complicated enough. But nonetheless, we haven't right-sized our systems.
Yeah, and if just the fact that what you said about you felt this need, so you were filling this need to reduce the amount of time spent on that, maybe to improve what you were doing. Just the fact that you having developed a lot of this, and then all the other gurus, they're all engineers who are scratching their own itch. This is something we felt the pain of, maybe paper based or spread, the spreadsheet of a trace matrix. I think that's what really is impressive to me about the company, and the fact that, to your point earlier, the fact that we can help customers having been there. We truly are scratching our own itch. We know why we're doing what we're doing, and so I think it's great. I'm a big proponent for that.
Yeah, and for me, it's awesome because now you and Wade and Tom and Jessica and all the other gurus, you all get to have you have different experiences, so you get to bring your sets of experiences, to the team to share, and we all get to kind of learn from that. But all of that knowledge, finds its way into the product, and so like the next update might have something that is based on some conversations that we've had internal about ways to improve this interface or whatever the case may be. It's like that guru edge, that expertise will find its way into the product and into the workflow, which collectively speaking, I think today as we're recording this, don't hold me to this count, but we have somewhere around a dozen gurus within the company, which is freaking awesome. And I know that it's a unique offering, especially in the EQMS software space. Most are so general and generic that they're not specific to med device. Well, we are 100% focused on med device, and we have all of these decades of experience in the form of our gurus who are there too. So, like I said, we've got at least 12 as we're talking. So that's I think that's something we don't, and we're pretty modest most of the time. I think that's one of the areas where maybe we could toot our horn a little bit more about that.
I love the people I work with, and it's exciting to share in all of this knowledge, and to share the knowledge that I've learned as well over the years. That was one of the things that I found. Like I said, when I found Greenlight Guru through doing research and coming across the articles. Well, I was struggling with explaining a lot of the design control items to different people, how things connected, and so when I say struggling, I mean when I was spending more time doing that than the project management and the engineering, and
right.
So that's explaining things to people and really educating people. That was exciting to me, and seeing the light bulbs pop on and people really getting it and getting those different connections. It's exciting, and
All right. Well, Etienne, as we're wrapping things up today, I guess any tips or pointers or thoughts come to mind to kind of wrap our discussion up today?
I'll say one thing just to our customers who are starting out. The thing that I've noticed, just having been on so many different calls, just learning the different processes, what I would say is go slow to go fast. Even in the short time I've been here, I've seen customers come out of the gate hot. They're trying to get through training as fast as they can. Then it's almost like they fall off the radar, some of them. And implementing a QMS, it doesn't have to take forever, but it does take a methodical approach. So the key I would say is go slow to go fast, and then you can really implement and be strong. So
that's really good, and I think along with that, I mean, realize that it is, you don't have to eat the elephant all at once. So you can take it a bite at a time, and I do think I've seen that as well, where customers want to have this mad dash and this rush to get through all the training. Well, in my experience, the training that I've taken through my career is the training that is the most effective is when it is in sync with when I'm actually doing the activity.
When you learn,
so it's reinforcing and that sort of thing. So I think it's good. It's good that people are excited that they want to put all of their QMS in place. And I want you to be excited a year from now. So if you're diving headfirst and trying to do it all within the next couple of weeks or so, you're going to burn yourself out. So it's a marathon. Pace yourself. That's a really good tip. Well, Etienne, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know, you mentioned being involved in MedTech Innovator. I'm sure that, other forms of content, webinars and articles and things of that nature. Folks, be on the lookout for content from Etienne Nichols. So it'll be coming here soon. So thank you so much for being listeners of the Global Medical Device Podcast, the number one podcast in the medical device industry. And that's all thanks to you. And I forgot to mention, hopefully by now you already figured out, we're on video. So click the subscribe button and the bell icon. And that way you keep notified of anytime there's a new episode. But yeah, we started doing these on video, and I've been having a good time with it. It's a great way to connect with my guests, and hopefully a great way for you to get some of that human connection as well. So thank you so much. As always, this is your host and founder at Greenlight Guru, Jon Speer, and you have been listening to the Global Medical Device Podcast.